Good morning, everybody. My name is Dyann Castro-Wehr, and I'm the service assistant today. And the minister speaking today is Frank. So you want to come on up and give him a little preview?
I would love to do that, Dyann.
I know you would.
The talk title today is A Sacred Story Beckons. Yeah. It sort of starts a month with a theme. I won't tell you what it is. You'll have to come all month and see. But it leads up to the end of the month for the great celebration, the final contemplative service of this month, the Dia de los Muertos. So it's a sense of a sacred story. And what is our sacred story? And how do we find it? And what gets in our way of experiencing it? So we're going to explore that today. It's going to be good. Yeah.
All right, sacred story. And we have a musical celebration today with 4 different gifted musicians. So we welcome Cheryl and Debra and Marcia. And our special guest, JP Falcon, as well. Okay. All right.
I go to God in prayer. I know my love, God is there. In the silence I hear that the dark holds no fear. So I go to God in prayer. I go to God in prayer. I know my God is there. My connection is sought, so I pray as God taught. When I go to God in prayer, I go to God in prayer. I know my God is there. Peace and tranquility, love is waiting for me. So I go to God in prayer. Yes, I go to God in prayer.
So let's spend a few moments of going to God in prayer together. Let's take a few deep breaths in, settling into our seat and into this space. And from this place of presence, we call to mind those who may be in need of a prayer today. We presence them now by speaking their names out loud or holding them silently in our hearts. We see wholeness, goodness, grace, and the healing power of presence surrounding them right now. And continuing to settle here, we're going to repeat the movement practice we did last week together to support presence, to support sitting in silence for a few moments. And so we'll do the movements to I am here now. So hands go in the lap. At I am here now. Let's take a breath in as we say that. I am here now. One last time, and then we'll spend a few moments in silence together. I am here now. Collectively, we've tuned into the blessings of silence. We align with this power, and we find what love holds when we remain there. We can revisit this place at any point during the week. It might be for a moment. It might be for an hour. And that presence is there with each moment of attention put onto it. So we'll continue with some music, meditative music, and carrying this peace and this quiet with us.
Unbound, lifting me up through the clouds, I go floating all around. I like the way you call out my name, it's bringing me home. I'm not falling or fading, I am floating with you. The sound of your song on the wind makes me whole, feeling unbound. It's lifting me up through the clouds, I go floating all around. I like the way you call out my name, it's bringing me home. I'm not falling, I'm not fading, I am floating with you.
So, from the Buddhist tradition, there's a piece called the 5 Remembrances. I want to share them with you, and I'll say them and you can repeat them after me. The first one is, I am of the nature to grow old. Repeat that. I am of the nature to grow old. I cannot escape growing old. I cannot escape growing old. Okay. Number 2, I am of the nature to have ill health. I am of the nature to have ill health. I cannot escape experiencing ill health. I cannot escape experiencing ill health. Number 3, you ready? I am of the nature to die. I am of the nature to die. I cannot escape experiencing death. I cannot escape experiencing death. Number 4, all it that is dear to me and everybody I love will change. All that is dear to me and everybody I love will change. There is no way to escape being separate from them. There is no way to escape being separate from them. My actions are my only true belonging. My actions are my only true belonging. I cannot escape the consequences of my actions. I cannot escape the consequences of my actions. My actions in body, mind, and speech are the ground upon which I stand. My actions in body, mind, and speech are the very ground upon which I stand. Ooh. Yeah, I've been sitting with that all week. So today, well, yesterday, actually, October 4th, is the feast of St. Francis of Assisi. And I know that because I'm a Francis, right? I go by Frank. My patron is Francis. I also know that it was a pretty auspicious day because when Unity of Bellingham asked me to come and be the minister here. I chose to come when? On October 4th. It was my feast day, and I planned it to show up on that day, which also means I've been here 4 years, and this is the start of my 5th, which also means something like 160 sermons. Yeah, 4 years. So today I want to tell you just a little bit about Francis. Yeah, but not the Francis you think. You don't have to raise your hand, but think for a second. How many of you receive Social Security? Or how many of you expect to receive Social Security? And how many of you are pretty happy that either you're getting or going to get some Social Security? Well, like 75 years ago, actually it's been more than that, over 100 years ago now, that didn't exist. Didn't exist. There was a woman, her name was Frances Perkins. Anyone heard of Frances Perkins? One, two, a few people know Frances Perkins. Okay, 3, 4, okay. Another Francis, who's another hero. And I would even say for Francis Day, October 4th, let's think of Frances Perkins, someone who is still alive in my lifetime. We crossed over by about a decade. And Frances Perkins was a young woman who her parents knew that she had this brilliant mind, and she was very compassionate and very intelligent. And they said, what is going to go on? Her name was Franny. And she was downtown New York, and there was at the Triangle Shirtwaist Factory, there was a fire on the 8th floor of a 10-story building. She happened to be there. She was a witness to this. And what would happen at the time, they'd bring mostly young women up to be seamstresses and work with the fabric. And they were on the 8th floor, and a fire broke out. And now, I think Dyann told me fabric is fire safe, or they try to make it more fire safe. But in those days, man, that fabric catch fire, it is gone fast. On the 8th floor. And in those days, they had no ladder to get to the 8th floor. The water would not reach the 8th floor. Basically, all these people up there were just cooking. And when she ran out, Frances Perkins, she saw these people. They said, oh, they must be trying to save the bolts of fabric, and they're throwing all the fabric out the window. But it wasn't fabric. It was people leaping off the 8th floor because they were basically cooking in the fire. There was one elevator, and of course, by the time some people went down, the elevator was out of service, and they had locked the doors because they didn't want workers sneaking out and stealing fabric. They wanted to control the people going out. So there was only one exit from that 8th floor. Other doors were shut, the exit was blocked, it was on fire, and there was no way for these people to get out. And Franny Perkins saw this, and at that moment, she had a vision. Something came alive in her, and she said, I know the purpose of my life. I see it. In unity and in the spiritual tradition, a lot of times we talk about, we go within, appropriately so, and we find in our hearts what's alive and what's passionate. But I want to suggest that oftentimes what we find in our hearts for what's alive and what's passionate, what's our next step, has a lot to do with what we're seeing in the world around us and what reaches back to us. In some ways we say, and this can happen when we're young, but this is true for all our lives, where we say, this is what I'm going to do, this is my career. But there's something different that happens. It's not a matter of us finding something inside. It's sometimes a matter of what's going on outside reaches out and calls to us, and we call that maybe not so much of a career or a longing, but we call it a vocation. We call it when the world reaches back to us and says, listen, I'm calling you to show up in a new way. And this will bring fire to your life, purpose, focus, fire. Now, I brought 2 pictures here. Sometimes we get an idea. We see something's going on and something starts stirring. We don't know what exactly it is, but we go, there's something there. It's beautiful, it's colorful, it's calling to me. There's something that is rising up in my consciousness, and I want to move towards it. And it may not be crystal clear at this moment. Other times, we get the vision and we know exactly what. We can describe it, we can paint it into detail. We say, that's my vision. And both ways are fine. And we see this happening in both ways. Frances Perkins, She then converted she became Episcopalian, and she went and she got baptized, and she changed her name to Frances because she wanted to follow the model of Francis of Assisi, to be this person of simplicity and service to the poor. And what she said is, I see right now that workers, these young women, she was arguing, ready for this, for a 64-hour work week. That was less. And the children didn't have to work that much. She worked her whole life for worker safety, for worker fairness, for workers' rights to assemble, to find safety, for workers not to be put in danger, for working to have, and she had this vision. And then she worked for the governor of New York, Al Davis, and then she worked for the next governor of New York, Franklin Delano Roosevelt. And then FDR became president, and he called Frances Perkins. He says, I want you to be the secretary of the Department of Labor. No women at this point had ever been a cabinet secretary, ever, in the United States. So what did she say? Did she say, oh my God, yeah, sure? No. She said, I've got a few conditions. She said, I see elder people working their whole life. They get old, they can't work anymore, and they're destitute. I want to start a thing we're going to call Social Security. And she did it. Her and her friends put this together, the people in her department, and they passed it in Congress. Frances Perkins, thank you. Yeah. Happy Frances Day, right? She also said, this is crazy. She had it where she wanted to reduce it first, or, earlier in her career, she was an advocate to getting down to every day you only had to work 8 hours, except Sunday you got 2 hours off to go to service. She said, how about a 40-hour work week? Wouldn't that make more sense? They passed that. 40 hours. How about if you get sick, there's workers' compensation? Thank you, Frances Perkins. Yeah. Social Security, workers' health and safety, legal for workers to come together and advocate for their benefit. Over and over and over. And every time she would go to Roosevelt and said, I'm done. The press is skewering me. The opposition is skewering me. They're making me out to be this terrible, you can fill in what they probably called her. And she'd go to FDR with her resignation letter, and he'd go, no. But you're not supporting me. And he's like, yeah, I'm doing my thing. Take it. And she took it. She got skewered in the press. She got pushed back. But she knew what she was about. And by the way, none of that was for her ability to get rich. She didn't do any of this so that she would get the personal fame. She didn't get any of this so she was going to make some kind of extra money or get a different gig or somehow benefit herself. She was on purpose to be of service to the world, to the worker, to the poor, to the people of the United States of America. She was on purpose to be a servant, to be a person of love and care and compassion and support to others. And when she finally left the administration, 13 years later, she did the whole Roosevelt thing, all 13 years. Like a lot of people, they leave service. What do? They write a book, right? They write their memoir, My Time as Secretary of Labor. And she did write a book. She wrote a book of the Franklin Roosevelt I knew. She wrote one of the greatest biographies of Roosevelt. She didn't write about herself. She wrote about someone else she admired. I love Frances Perkins. I admire her. Yeah. And what's that fifth principle? Read it with me again. My actions are my only true belongings. My actions are my only true belongings. I don't escape the consequences of my actions. I don't escape the consequences of my actions. Yeah, for good or ill. My actions of body, mind, and speech are the ground upon which I stand. My actions of body, mind, and speech are the ground upon which I stand. Yeah, I wonder sometimes how much our actions, I'll talk about myself, it's just easy to do a little self-reflection. I mean, how much of what I do is the sense, even if it's unconscious, is, well, maybe if I get enough or own enough or somehow set up my situation enough that I can escape, like what? Getting older or being ill. Or maybe somehow, if I get enough billions of dollars, this isn't me, but I see this in our culture, maybe somehow I'll what? What? Live forever in this incarnation? Is that? But we can't escape that. We can't escape everything. The nature of the world is evolution. Things pass and new things emerge. The nature of our life, of our existence, of our reality is and we can't escape that everything will change. And things move and new things come in, and this emergence, this cycle, this beautiful path on the front of the bulletin, this movement, this harmony, this transition. The only thing in the end I own is what I've chosen to do, how I've chosen to show up. Do I want to show up and play the win-lose game? I win, you lose. The right or wrong game? Or do I want to play the harmony? How do I show and find a harmony in our culture, a harmony in the flow, the harmony that brings peace, the harmony that brings compassion, the harmony that brings the joy of the celebration of community? Or I can make it about me, and be out of harmony totally, and think that's somehow going to ward off the truths of life. There's a second person I want to bring up. By the way, if you want to know more about Frances Perkins, she's all over the internet. You can look up the history and the PBI, all the different places. I read about her in this book by David Brooks called The Road to Character, one of my favorite authors, who talks a lot about a bunch of really fascinating Americans and what they did for the country and their unselfishness. It's a brilliant read, I think, The Road to Character. That's where I learned about Frances Perkins. This is the book we're doing, and we're signed up for the class, and the class starts Tuesday. It's a Zoom class, or Wednesday we're going to meet live at a living room over by my house. And it's a book by Lynn Twist, and it's called The Soul of Money. And what's interesting about this, and I'm not going to talk all about the book, but I want to mention this person, Lynn Twist. She talks about this in the book, the first chapters. It's a bit of autobiographical. How her and her husband were actually becoming very successful monetarily. And by success, in this definition, which obviously isn't the only definition, they were financially doing super well. Yeah, we got our house, but our friends got a second house. Well, we should do the second house. And we went to, she talks about all the places she went on vacation. I went, oh, those are nice places. Yeah, now I got to get my villa in Italy, and I got to get this, and I got to get the second home. And then she realized that they were chasing this wealth, and with all their friends chasing this perspective of more. And what she said was, all this money was not representing what my soul was asking me to do. And she talks about this in the book, that she got caught up in the game. And so she joined an organization, became the head of an organization that was fundraising with the simple mission of to end world hunger. Now, when you hear that, and what she says is people heard it, and she said, oh, you want to end hunger, like you want to make sure people have food. She goes, yeah, that's part of it. But she was talking about a more profound hunger. It's this hunger to keep feeding ourselves, to somehow think that if we get more and get enough and keep going, that we can overcome the realities of life, meaning I'm going to get older. I cannot escape that sometimes ill health is part of the deal, and I'm going to die. And not all the money and all the fame and all the fortune, all the success changes the reality of what it means to be human. Only our actions. It's only our actions that determine in the end, how we've shown up, how we've played the game and what defined us. And she changed with her husband from this model of more to how do we become of service? They realized in time that they had fallen into a trap. And she said, from now on, my money will be a servant of my soul. What I have and what I do and what I spend is going to be of service to a higher vision that I have gotten. Just like Frances Perkin, I've got a vision and it's so clear. And she was in Ecuador, if I'm saying this right, Anchiar people in the rainforest. And she had this experience down there, and they showed her something very different. And they had this thing they call Pachamama, the sense of the mother of the universe was in all of nature and all the beauty, and that everything we needed was fully and totally provided. Sufficiency was the name of nature of our being. They knew that. They know that. And then people in the West who were caught up in the trap, they said it's funny, the Anchiar in their villages had everything they needed for an abundant, sufficient life. And they took them out and they moved them into cities in Ecuador and they were starving. But that's just the consciousness we put on the systems we create. And they tasked Lynn Twist and her husband and others, and then you need to see what we're doing here, that we can live in a sense where everything we do is for the sufficiency of the community. They do not live in the energy of me, I got mine, you get yours, and too bad for you. And it's this win-lose, me versus you, us versus them, right versus wrong. It's just they live in this abundance and harmony of sufficiency in the rainforest. And they said, this energy, take this out. And she started this group called the Pachamama Alliance. They do a lot of things. You could look it up on the internet. It's really cool. Pachamama Alliance. And Lynn Twist takes executives and corporate people, and she takes them down and meets the Anchiar people. And they talk about a whole new way to understand sufficiency, abundance, and the fullness of life. Lynn Twist, what a change. And in this book, Soul of Money, it's interesting, we sometimes do books that have to do with finances, and I know my experience in Unity, there's been a discussion about, abundance. We affirm our abundance, and all this is great. Tithing, a 10% tithing, being in the flow of giving and receiving, and I'm great. But this book is not exactly about that. What it's about is we all have access to time, to money, to talents, and we all have a call, a vision. Maybe that's the first part. If our vision is getting a little unsure, let's refresh and align our mission statement. Spiritual practices, compassionate service. Spiritual practice, compassionate service. We do our practice to be awake and aware of what is the next thing that's calling us to step forward. And we don't have to see the whole picture. We just have to see what is the next step that's calling me forward. And then I take my money, my time, my energy, my focus, my life force, and we say, I'm just going to put it towards that. 5%, 10%, 100%. We put it towards what is the next right step for us. Yeah. And that's what leads, because in the end, by this Buddhist teaching, which has been really profound for me this week, it's our actions. In the end, what determines the how we are and how we showed up and the whole reality of our life is just what we choose to do. So why not align it with our soul? This is the soul of money. It's going to be a great class. It starts next Tuesday and Wednesday, so good time to sign up. We have a bunch of sign-ups, but if anyone's still interested, just give me your email and I'll send you some material so you can be ready. Yeah. I talked about Frances Perkins and we talked about Lynn Twist, but who are we really talking about? Each of us, right? This is the nature of the path, of the journey. So close your eyes, if you will, for a second, and let's end on this. You don't have to repeat it this time, but I'm going to share with you these 5 remembrances one more time. And I'll give them to you slowly, and we'll just breathe for each one and let them land and nurture our soul and our vision and our clarity. I am of the nature to grow old, and there is no way to escape growing old. Just take a breath with that. Number 2, I am of the nature to have ill health. There is no way to escape ill health. Number 3, I am of the nature to die. There is no way to escape death. Number 4, all that is dear to me and everyone I love are of the nature to change. There is no way to escape being separate from them. And finally, number 5, my actions are my only true belonging. I cannot escape the consequences of my actions. My actions in my mind, in my speech, in my body, and what I do are the ground upon which I stand. Yeah, take these in the silence. In the silence.
It's just about time for our offering. And as I'm thinking about this and our usual call for the ushers to come forward at this time, we're contemplating action, right? And our offerings that we prepare are a form of our action. It's one of the forms of our action, but we also offer ourselves in many other ways. So if we can connect at this moment to our soul with our offering that we offer today in the basket, and if not in the basket, in what other way in your life are you tithing? Are you sharing your time and your treasure? And take a moment to pause on that, because that is giving of ourselves. So our ritual here that we do of collecting the offering is but one way of acting according to our soul. So if our ushers want to come forward, we thank you for your choice to give to Unity of Bellingham. We accept it with love and appreciation. We are creating a ministry together based on all of our actions moving forward. And we thank you to all of you here in person and those of you online who tithe to the church as well. So let's think about this today as we affirm in our hearts quietly to ourselves. What is it that we give? I give freely and joyfully, for God is my source, and I have abundance in all areas of my life. And let's join together in saying our offertory blessing. Divine love through me blesses and multiplies all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive.
Across the sky for the winter, dance upon the wind and through the trees in the love, whisper from my heartbeat. Steady is the North Star in my dream. This is my offering. This is my offering. I'll stay out till the night turns into morning, finding shelter from the rain, giving thanks to those who've given freely. To the earth I offer you my body. To the sky I offer you my wings. To my love I offer up my soul. Offer up to you my soul. Come, baby, fly. Yes, baby, fly. My eyes slowly scan the night. Feel the ice forming on the tips of my wings. But the warmth is steady flowing from my passion. Will to survive is always strong. I'll stay out till the night turns into morning. Find shelter from the rain, giving thanks to those who've given ungiven freely. To the earth I offer you my body. To the sky I offer you my wings. To my love I offer up my soul. Offer up to you my soul. Yes, baby, fly. Yes, come, baby, fly.
Thank you, JP. I love going to his outdoor concerts, which are much more jazzy and pop music. And then when we get him here, we get this other side, this awesome side. It's so good to see your heart. Yeah, that's beautiful. You know, I'm thinking as we accept these gifts and just thinking today about how, you know, our sharing is a representation of our soul. So as we see these gifts, it's just one little touch. It actually is very humbling to know that this energy, this love, this compassion, this soul energy is coming forward to support this ministry and this mission, this expression, this experience we call Unity of Bellingham. It's humbling, it's beautiful, and I respect all of your gifts, and I love your souls. I love your souls. Yeah. So we bless them. May they go forward for this work, this ministry, for unity worldwide, and for peace on our planet. For peace on our planet. Thank you, Helga. A couple announcements. First off, in case you didn't know, there's a potluck today. That's why we got the tables. And it's the food's going to be in this back room. Obviously not here because we have our first of 3 Sundays of the auction. So the things that you see out, you can sign your name if you'd like to bid. It says in there what the minimum bid is on any of the things on the tables. And then the next bid, if you want to go up, you have to, it'll tell you how much you can increase the next bid by. And you know, one of the things that happens sometimes is you go, I really want that, but my friend has bid on it, so I don't want to bid on my friend. And I know I'm the first person to talk about kindness and compassion, and and, not but, I can tell you right now that anything Rosemary bids on, I'm going to up at $5. I'm just saying. For example, and she already knows. What I'm saying is this is all for fun. And hopefully you get to take home, you know, some of these beautiful offerings that people have donated for us. But have fun with it. It's a fundraiser. It's a fundraiser. It's a great chance. And actually, there's some really good. Rosemary have already been and I have outbidding each other as we're putting things out on the table. So let the fun begin. And also the soul of money. This is you know this has been on my list to share this book since I got here. I just waiting for the right time. It's one of the most fabulous books, and when I went to a Pachamama Alliance retreat one weekend and realized that was Lynn Twist as well, and some of the stuff, and if you're not sure, Lynn Twist, if you're a YouTuber, go listen to this woman. I mean, it's really fabulous what she's doing and what she's bringing and the soul she's bringing and the way she's helped me to be in relationship with money and time and energy in my life. And knowing how that's just, you know, my actions, how I show up and how I use my money is a determinant of this breakthrough in my consciousness. So consider that. We'd love to have you at the class. And by the way, the soul of money, there is a charge for it, but do not let the cost determine whether or not you want to come to this class. We'll work it out. Just come. You're welcome to come, okay? So. Also, this is kind of cool. Todd brought did you bring that paper and the markers? What we're going to do is, there's a little, where are you going to be, Janae? Okay, we're going to have a table back here, and Janae will put it, and you know, you guys have probably known that our friend Jim Fackler has been on a experience of ill health for a while, and it has been a bit of a slog for him on this healing journey. He's kept his beautiful attitude, of course, but it's hard to be in the hospital for weeks and then in rehab. A bunch of us many people have gone on to see him. He's keeping his spirits up. But I think, and Todd had this idea, wouldn't it be cool if we sent him a giant card with all of us signed? So if you'd be so kind, if you want to write a little message to Jim, wishing him well, sending him a blessing his soul, blessing his healing journey. There'll be a big piece, and you just sign it on both sides with some magic markers, okay? So that'll be over here as well. And by the way, we did talk about wanting to do some kind of gratitude for all the volunteers, which is basically almost everybody, I think, for the conference. So what we're going to do is the next potluck, not this one, obviously, but the next one will be in November. And what we're going to do is we're going to have the turkey, and the potluck will be for fixins. Okay, so we're going to have a big turkey dinner the 1st of November, and then we'll have some other things going on as well. It'll be a big gratitude potluck to just celebrate Thanksgiving and to celebrate in gratitude for everybody and all the work and all the energy and all the love you shared to make the Unity Northwest Conference a grand event. So thank you.